Welcome to this week's edition of the Empathic Designer podcast. I'm your host Vaidishwaran. This is the fifth of the seven-part series on performance needs analysis. We have identified our audience profile and the performance gap. It's time to take a closer look at the subject matter itself. The subject matter is a forte of our stakeholders, and it is up to us to carefully meander through their vast knowledge to get what we want to provide our recommendations. Let us get started with this phase by asking our stakeholders to provide a brief overview of the subject matter. If we have prior knowledge about this requirement, we can do a bit of our own research and draft some high level questions ahead of the meeting. It's important to keep this part brief and not get the stakeholders too involved in discussing the content in detail. I've been part of sessions where an entire hour was spent on discussing the content in way too much detail. If the stakeholders are not sure about the content that needs to go in, or if you feel they are about to get into a long discussion, we can advise our stakeholders to schedule an internal meeting to discuss this and send us the updates. Once we've got an overview of the subject matter, inquire about how often the subject matter content is bound to get changed or updated, and whether these changes will happen throughout the content or only to parts of the content. At this point, it is important to check if our stakeholders are the subject matter experts, or is there going to be a separate team that will support us with this. We must also use this opportunity to get connected with our subject matter experts. They are usually high performers or managers and are bound to have a unique perspective on this entire effort. Let us now shift our line of questioning to the audience perspective and inquire about the audience's perception of this subject matter. If we are talking about processes, identify the audience's attitude towards this process and the reasons for this. Remember that the audience's attitude towards the subject matter cannot be attributed to the subject matter alone. Remember the three key areas: work, worker, and the workplace. We should also try to identify if this subject matter is new to the audience or whether there are people currently performing the tasks or functions in question. As mentioned earlier, this is a good point to request for interviews with the subject matter experts if our stakeholders aren't the SMEs. With information on the work and the worker in place, we will talk about the performance environment in our next episode. Thank you for tuning into this week's edition of the Empathic Designer podcast. If you like what you heard, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can hit the bell icon for getting regular updates from my channel. As always, if you have any questions or feedback, please leave a message on the comments section below and I'll be glad to respond. Thank you and have a great day.